If you found this video enjoyable, please leave a like and hell, even subscribe if you want to. It only takes 2 clicks, and push that notification bell just to get the messages for my videos. That would be greatly appreciated. So this is probably going to be an interesting video in the long run. Hello everybody, my name is Metas, and we'll be talking about Silver Chariot Requiem today, a stand that has been slowly kind of grabbing my attention over time thanks to the comment section. You guys like to really compare Wonder Review and Silver Chariot Requiem a lot, and I mean a lot. Jokes aside, let's get into the lore and background of Chariot Requiem, which I'll be calling from this point onward because Silver Chariot Requiem is a mouthful. Chariot Requiem's musical reference would be a callback to Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's Requiem, a unfinished piece by Mozart that would be commissioned by a mysterious man in black. So goes the musical legend, of course. Sadly, Mozart would never actually complete this piece because on December 5th, 1791, Mozart would sadly pass away. But surprisingly enough, one of his students, Xavier, would eventually finish the piece, possibly being a callback or eventually an influence for GER and Giorno. And on top of that, the death of Mozart might be a callback or a influence on Polnareff's death as well, but it most likely goes even deeper than that. You see, one of the definitions for Requiem is defined as an act or a token of remembrance. Right before the physical death of Polnareff in his original body, he remembers the Stardust Crusaders, a group that went on a very tedious and long journey to defeat Dio, a villain who can be described as pure evil, and who ran through the entire Stardust Crusaders, killing 3 of them in like one fight, which is insane, and most likely inspired at least the idea of a Requiem that protects somebody. The abilities that Chariot Requiem has are very based on the idea of protecting somebody almost religiously, or just no act of protecting yourself while protecting somebody, almost like you're sacrificing yourself. Kind of like a bodyguard that doesn't really care about his own well-being is what I'd kind of make an example of it too. TLDR, Dio gave Polnareff super bad post-traumatic stress disorder and kind of inspired the ideas of Chariot Requiem protecting somebody almost without caring for its own well-being. Note, that is just fan speculation, but knowing Araki, it probably is true, knowing him, so yeah. Lore aside, we'll finally get into the abilities. Everybody's probably been waiting for this, so let's go over the absolute chaos that is Chariot Requiem and its domination of souls. So upon activation of Chariot Requiem, life all around him will begin to sleep, including people, animals, possibly even plants, vaguely, more or less all living souls. It's stated that living souls will sleep around 6 to 7 hours, fully. Chariot Requiem's sleep ability is the second longest ability in all of JoJo's. 6 to 7 hours is probably the only time we'll ever get a confirmed time span, right behind Wonder Review. But while people are asleep, a unique phenomenon happens, where people nearby each other will swap bodies. Now that's not too crazy on the surface, but the wild thing is here, Chariot Requiem's range is insanely massive. On a bare minimum, he has probably the range of the stadium plus a couple acres, or the entire city of Rome, meaning that a lot of people's bodies get swapped between each other. And it's just not people, it's every living soul, meaning plants, animals, possibly sea creatures, really anything that possibly has a soul. If I were to compare the massive soul swap to anything in real life, it would probably be the worst mass hysteria case ever. We've seen in real life when people just go crazy in a large number, shit can get dangerous really fast. And in a case where everybody is getting their soul swapped between animals, people, and etc., I wouldn't be surprised if things got really crazy off screen that wasn't focusing on the main crew. Regular people aside, what happens to stand users when they are affected by Chariot Requiem? Aside from getting their bodies and soul swapped, their stands get a pretty decent power boost. In the case of Mista and Narancia, Aerosmith and Sex Pistols get a pretty decent power boost, having the ability to now kind of go through walls without activating their actual destructive capabilities, and Sex Pistols having the ability to literally stop a bullet while it's still going mid-air, split the bullet into smaller bullets, and able to hit a steel fence pretty effortlessly, all while happening mid-air, basically making a multi-shot bullet with one bullet. Now, for Aerosmith and Sex Pistols, this is a pretty good buff or feat for them, since we don't get to see their stands do too many like crazy things on panel, but it kind of gets inconsistent with the Chariot Requiem buff, because stands like Sticky Fingers, Spice Girl, and Gold Experience really don't get crazy or too out of the ordinary for them with the so-called stand bust from Chariot Requiem. But King Crimson does, since he's shown like some really weird abstract erasing abilities that we didn't see previously, and would actually confuse viewers that didn't understand King Crimson to begin with, since he attacks Narancia while in frozen time, which was really weird and not consistent at all with previous statements or feats. So yeah, it kind of gets a little bit weird with this buff. Also, maybe Gold Experience, but I think that was just narratively speaking when he was next to Narancia's dead body, so maybe no on that case. So this is the part of the video where I kind of make a meme out of myself for noticing this. While everybody is getting their souls swapped between each other and stands are being buffed, Chariot Requiem just seemingly stands in a single place for 6 to 7 hours. Yeah, I'm not joking when I'm saying that. Literally reread that part of this arc. He literally stands there for 6 to 7 hours after making Diavolo sleep when he first appeared. I kid you not. Now, actually, there might be a reasonable explanation to this. Since Chariot Requiem can quote-unquote dominate souls, and Polnareff's last kind of dying wish was for his stand to protect the arrow, there could be the case that Chariot Requiem, feeling that there was no active threat that it was conscious at the time to get the arrow, said that the spot that he was exactly in was safe, so it did not need to travel anywhere where there was no active threat. Or on the flip side of that coin, Chariot Requiem is stupid. Totally two different interpretations that could be totally logical. So there you kind of go. Memes aside, the next few powers that are shown from Chariot Requiem are by far its strongest to date. So while Bruno was in Diavolo's body, he used Sticky Fingers to absolutely decimate Chariot Requiem, cleavering off his forearm with the arrow in hand. While reaching for said arrow, Sticky Fingers begins to assault Bruno. And if you know Stan lore pretty well as I do, you know that Stans do not like to do two things: let their users end themselves, and B, attack their users of their own free will. Meaning that if a Stan tries to, I don't know, grab the arrow, Chariot Requiem will then control said user's stand to assault them to protect said arrow. This is the only case ever in JoJo's where a stand has the ability to control another stand without actually directly touching them or, controlling them in some way that involves, physically touching them. Chariot Requiem can also control multiple stands at the same time, that being, Sticky Fingers and Sex Pistols. You also have to remember these aren't normal stands. These are stands that are being enhanced by Chariot Requiem, being controlled by Chariot Requiem, meaning that is kind of formidable in any scenario. It's also vaguely implied that objects that bounce off of the arrow are not, being bounced off regularly. It's almost kind of like there's a mysterious force making just objects in general not touch the arrow. And shortly after this, we get to see Chariot Requiem's regeneration ability in display. Chariot Requiem can just reattach limbs, regenerate parts that have been clearly blown off by Sex Pistols, easily take punches from Gold Experience and other stands extremely effortlessly, like nothing even happened. It forcefully rips off its own limbs to actually throw towards a person with the arrow that is not a stand user to get the arrow back. TLDR, the regeneration power of Chariot Requiem is so good, it will literally just start ripping its own limbs off to achieve victory. It'll probably only do this ever when a non-stand user tries to pick up the arrow, in this case Polnareff, but regardless. Moving on to its strongest ability by far, and probably potentially the strongest / most terrifying, the ability to switch creatures from another world into this one. If a person or creature has been body swapped with another, this creature from another world, probably being many creatures actually in fact, will start coming out of said body, alien / Cthulhu mythos style. It's stated that these aliens, or whatever they could possibly be, I'll just call them creatures from now on, have never existed on Earth in its entirety of life that has ever existed in the 4.5 billion years that the Earth has had life on it, meaning that the creatures that will probably come about will be nothing that we have ever seen before in the entirety of Earth. So I'm going to do a quick anti-feat here. No, Chariot Requiem cannot control the entire world with this kind of creature coming forth. Mista was just hyping it up a little bit too much and being a little bit wild and sporadic. This is Mista we're talking about. He is a dumbass. I want you to know this for a fact. At best, it's probably at maximum all of Rome. At bare minimum, the stadium plus a few acres, like I said previously. So what happens when these creatures fully form? I don't know. It's never stated. Wow, that's pretty anticlimactic. anticlimactic in the short run of all of it. One can presume with Trish's comment that if these things actually do fully form, your soul will just disappear and you will die. So if the creature fully forms while Chariot Requiem is just walking the streets of Rome or really anywhere, you will just die, apparently. Note, that is still extremely powerful and just kind of almost a one-shot kill that Chariot Requiem can do kind of passively. But yeah, there's really nothing else to go off of. But since these are creatures that have never been on Earth ever before, they could display their own unique powers and abilities, but that is complete fan speculation on my part. So there you go. So in Chariot Requiem's complete totality, he is extremely powerful. He can make you sleep to 6 to 7 hours. He has the ability to swap bodies with another individual if they're next to you. He has the ability to control stands if you try to get the Requiem arrow. He has the ability to summon creatures from a different world to inhabit your body and slowly kill you. He is extremely powerful, on top of a really good regeneration ability. So how can you win? Well, there are two ways to beat him, technically only one now. In the first case, if Polnareff is alive, if you take away the arrow from Chariot Requiem will just go back to Silver Chariot. But if Polnareff is dead and Chariot Requiem has gone berserk, the only way to beat him is to destroy the miniature sun behind you. The only way you're ever going to notice this is the time of day. If it looks like the sun is facing in your direction, but the shadow of Chariot Requiem is in front of him, that's the only time you're ever going to notice. And this is such a small detail to notice that it kind of makes sense that nobody noticed it before until King Crimson pointed it out / Diavolo. And even then, Diavolo didn't actually completely destroy the sun behind him. He only did it partially so he could actually, still be in front of everybody to get the Requiem arrow until Bucciolati completely destroyed it, making it to where Giorno can actually get the arrow. So no, there is a misconception out there that you need to destroy your body or, do something extremely dramatic and wild to somehow stop it. You don't. You just need to destroy the miniature sun behind you. And in the case of Bruno, just, somehow sacrificing himself in that case, his body was already dead and he was already basically on the point of death. So he just, said, it's up to you, Giorno. So yeah, if there was a misconception there, it's completely solved now. If I were to describe Silver Chariot Requiem, he would be a bubble nuke. He is extremely powerful. He can control a large amount of people and stands, give them buffs. He is extremely powerful, ridiculously powerful. But due to having a really, really stupid weakness, that being, a miniature sun behind you that could be found out by truly anybody who notices small details like, shadows being misplaced, you can really defeat it in its totality, which is kind of sad, but it is extremely powerful. And since, a large group of people like, Bruno's group didn't figure it out, it is possible that it is more or less unstoppable, but it also can be almost basically useless if somebody were to figure its power out. But to leave on kind of a fun note, since I kind of do this sometimes if the video allows me to, what if Polnareff actually was able to control Chariot Requiem? Basically meaning, what if part 3 Polnareff actually had Chariot Requiem? How powerful would he be? Imagine all the feats, all the light speed feats, all the power and precision feats of part 3 Polnareff that I've kind of covered in previous videos, on top of the fact of all of these abilities of Chariot Requiem, on top of the fact that instead of the arrow being the thing it's protecting, it is now Polnareff, meaning that the stand is still technically automatic, but still technically kind of a regular stand, which means that Polnareff wouldn't be injured if Chariot Requiem is injured. So it means it has all the stuff of an automatic stand without any of the downsides of a regular stand. It'd actually be pretty nuts, and personally speaking, it'd probably be in the top 4, maybe around D4C Love Train in its entirety, maybe. Well, that is going to be the end of the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, stay hydrated. See you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen.